Um, my story with as a way of working with people begins in an HIV context in Southern Africa, actually. Probably 15 years ago is when I first came into contact with SALT as a way of understanding, in my opinion, how to be with, in my experience and how I come to appreciate SALT, is that it's not something we do to people. We don't do SALT. we be SALT. Like it's a way of ensuring that when we come alongside people who have the desire to change, have the desire to improve their own lives and the lives of the people that they care about, it's a way of ensuring that when we come alongside those people, we are present in that moment with them, in a way that allows us to acknowledge all the things that have brought them and us to that point, but whilst acknowledging the incredible potential and the hope that lies in the future. But somehow it enables us to just be present and connect with that person or those people. And for me, that my experience of the power of this way of being with people started in that HIV context, working with young people in community settings who are really looking to mobilize each other into leadership to respond to this to respond to this crisis in many of the communities. And so what the interesting journey of applying SALT as a way of being with people in other contexts was that I found myself back home in Australia working with communities that had been affected or were at risk of being affected by wildfire. Southeastern Australia is one of the most fire-prone environments in the world, and we experience large-scale wildfires that and communities that I work with have experienced loss of life, loss of property, but also huge loss to the environment and to the landscape for which they feel a real close sense of identity with. So my challenge over the past probably 7 now has been around how to come alongside people who are in these communities that are at risk of bushfire to build their capacity to live with uncertainty, live with the risk, and improve their sense of connectedness in the community. Because after a natural disaster, your first responder is more often than not your neighbor. And it's not the emergency services, it's not the police or the fire brigade. Usually it's that person that is closest to you. And if we don't have positive, cohesive relationships with our neighbors and our counterparts in our community, then we're immediately on the back foot in that regard. A big conventional approach emergency management and government agencies here in Australia has been to swoop in after an emergency and try and fix everything. I don't think that's unique to Australia in the disaster setting. I think it's probably an experience that is global. But SALT, to support, to appreciate, to learn, and to transfer, for me, has been a framework that I've been able to share in order to validate a different way of doing things. One that appreciates inherent capacity of people to act, concern, and discover ways forward together. I personally believe that something that makes us all, one of the things that makes us all human, is the fact that we are hardwired for connection. We don't exist in, we only exist in relationship to other people. And for me, way of connecting or tapping into that very human connection with people is to use this framework of SALT as like signposts in my conversations with them. Like it's almost like a journey that I'm able to go on in my head. If I'm wanting to have really authentic and genuine, meaningful conversations with people that I don't know, that I need to build rapport with quite and trust with, especially working for a government organization, it offers me anchor points in my conversations with people where I can reconnect with the fact that with our shared humanity, if you like, because what we're trying to achieve isn't. I believe that the change we often talk about in this sector, in emergency management or in community development or in public health, we want to sustain behavior change. It's a phrase that all the time, right? We want sustained behavior change in people. For me, it's not the type of change that as practitioners we strive for is not just a change in the way that people do things, or that people plan for emergencies better, or that they go and get tested more regularly. The change that SALT practitioners strive for, in my mind, is a transformational change. It's one that touches on that question and enables people to go safely to that question of what does me human and what do I care about? And as a SALT practitioner as well, what I think that it enables us to do is to be a participant in that change process. And so that the transformational change that we have the privilege of facilitating in other people is one that we experience ourselves. And that's why I think it's so contagious almost as well, is because we have this sort of, at the same time as facilitating transformative change in other people, we're letting people transform us. And that's okay. As someone who works for a local government organization, you're working with communities who often have, at no fault of their own, the impression that my taxes pay your salary. So you need to do stuff for us. You need to do stuff for us. You need to fix that road, and you need to cut down that grass because that's posing a risk to our lives, because of the fire danger, or you haven't done the roadside vegetations and things like that. And so to and say, I actually don't have anything for you. All I want to do is understand what matters to you, because I want to learn about how we can be better members of this community. Because that's my entry point, is to say, what happens here in this landscape, and the same things that you care about, I also care about. And I have to mean it. I have to find, even though I'm not a resident in many of these communities, if I'm going to work in them, first and foremost, I have to find, what do I really care about in that place that I can use as a bridge between me and the people who call that place home every day. It's almost like opens this empathetic door, or opens a door to a room where you can connect in a really empathetic way with people. And because another thing that for me as a practitioner, I believe makes us all human, is that at the end of the day, we just want to be understood. I just want to be understood. And if I feel understood, I feel empowered. I feel trusted. I feel respected. Um, and the person that I sense understands me, I'm going to want to work.